What if I told you one of music's most influential artists had secret enemies that shaped his entire career? Lil Peep revolutionized the SoundCloud scene, blending emo and rap into something entirely new. But behind his meteoric rise lay a web of conflicts, betrayals, and surprising rivalries nobody talks about. Today we're diving into the shadowy side of Peep's story that explains so much about who he really was. Before his tragic passing at just 21, Lil Peep experienced conflicts that reveal the true nature of fame, loyalty, and the music industry's darker side. And the most shocking part? His biggest enemy turned out to be someone completely unexpected. Stay with me to discover the surprising truth. The SoundCloud revolution of 2015 to 2017 transformed music forever. At its center stood Gustav R., better known as Lil Peep. In just 3 short years, he released hundreds of songs, multiple projects, and performed over 100 shows worldwide. His genre-bending style created a blueprint many artists still follow today. But what most fans don't realize is how many intense conflicts Peep navigated during this explosive rise to fame. These weren't just Twitter spats. They were deeply personal betrayals that affected his music, mental health, and ultimately shaped his legacy. Let's start with perhaps the most unexpected feud, Mask The Slump God. You might wonder how these two even crossed paths. The connection? Lil Tracy, Peep's closest collaborator at the time. Mask was friends with Tracy and decided to visit both of them at Peep's Los Angeles house. At first, everything seemed perfect. They recorded a track called New World Order with Ronnie J producing, and social media showed them enjoying each other's company. There are numerous videos of them laughing, creating music, and bonding over their shared SoundCloud come-up. But here's where things took a dramatic turn. One day, left to hang out with other friends in LA. When he returned to Peep's house, nothing seemed amiss. But after flying home, realized something important was missing. Several valuable items from his luggage had disappeared. Furious, immediately took to Twitter, writing, "So I supposedly lost my luggage at Peep's house. If y'all see anyone with my Goyard bag or clothes, let me know so I can beat them up." He directed all his anger toward Peep, assuming he was responsible since it was his house. What's fascinating about this situation is Peep never stole anything. With between 5 and 10 people living in Peep's house at the time, it would later be revealed that young Goth, one of Peep's closest friends, was actually responsible for taking Ski's belongings. But by then, the damage was done. The tension escalated when posted a video condemning Peep with harsh words, even removing Peep's name from their collaboration. Interestingly, Peep never publicly responded to these accusations, leading many to believe he felt responsible since one of his friends was the actual culprit. Now, you might think this beef continued until Peep's passing, but that's not what happened. In a surprising twist, months later, Peep and were spotted together at an LA studio. They even went live on Instagram, showing they had reconciled. There's photographic evidence of this session where they recorded an extremely rare track called F Donald Trump, a song where Peep primarily screams rather than raps or sings. But just when fans thought the beef was squashed forever, something inexplicable happened. 10 days before his passing in November 2017, Peep randomly tweeted at "Y'all know Mask is a homophobe and called me a faggot." Quickly responded, "I'm not homophobic, I just don't trust you. In the closet and don't say nothing till a year later. I'm Jamaican, I was raised differently." This exchange shows how Peep's sexuality became a recurring point of contention throughout many of his conflicts. As someone who had publicly come out as bisexual, these kinds of comments clearly affected him deeply. We'll never know how this renewed conflict might have resolved, as Peep passed away just days later. In a touching display of respect, put aside their differences and tweeted, "I hope Peep is resting in peace. His energy will live on. I'll forever remember him. I'm a Beamer boy." In later interviews, would continue to praise Peep's talent and impact, showing that some rivalries can be transcended by mutual respect. Speaking of respect, let's talk about the most controversial beef in Peep's career, his alleged issues with Tentacion. What makes this situation particularly interesting is that there wasn't any direct conflict between them while they were both alive. However, their posthumous collaboration, Falling Down, sparked massive controversy among Peep's friends and fans. X himself explained why he kept his distance from Peep during their lifetimes. Ski had beef with Lil Peep back in the day, and that's why I never co-signed him. I never talked to him or did anything with him. But we had similar friends and knew similar people. All I would hear was good things about him, but due to my loyalty to Ski, I would not mess with him. X claimed he felt guilty about this distance, which is partly why he jumped on the remix of Falling Down after Peep's passing. He stated, "I felt a form of guilt. I wanted to fix that feeling in a proper way, not in some clout way." But here's where things get complicated. After the song's release, several of Peep's close friends came forward with serious allegations that Peep actually disliked X intensely. This controversy became one of the biggest in modern hip-hop, with Peep's mother and family siding with his friends who opposed the collaboration. One close associate named Fishnark claimed Peep hated 666 like he hated all women abusers. According to Fish, Peep was particularly disturbed by X's notorious no-jumper interview, where he described doing harmful things to a gay man in jail. Given Peep's bisexuality, this reportedly strengthened his dislike of X. Fishnark even stated that Peep had explicitly rejected working with X, had spent time and money getting X's songs removed from his Spotify playlists, and would have been sick if he knew they'd end up on a track together. But this narrative was challenged by another of Peep's friends, Fat Nick, who claimed Peep was actually open to meeting X shortly before his passing. According to Nick, like 5 days before he passed, we were at my house and we talked about X. He did disagree with some things X did, but he wanted to come down after tour, go jet skiing, work on music. We'll never know the full truth, but this controversy shows how artists' legacies can become battlegrounds after they're gone, with different people claiming to represent their true wishes. Now let me tell you about a beef that was much more public and direct. Peep versus Black Bear. Both were pioneers in the emo-rap movement, but their relationship soured quickly. Peep posted a picture on Instagram saying, "Who's your favorite off-brand Peep? This is mine. Isn't he cute?" With an image of Black Bear. The implication was clear. Peep thought Black Bear was copying his style. But this wasn't just about musical style. It involved romantic jealousy too. The conflict escalated when Peep posted a picture with his new girlfriend, and Black Bear commented simply, "Unfollowed." Peep was furious about this and sent Black Bear a direct message. "I don't know who you are, but if you got a problem with me, let me know, because you are acting like a child even though you're older than me. Don't get smacked, keyword hard." Black Bear responded sarcastically, "Smacked? You'd like that, wouldn't you?" Peep then publicly accused Black Bear of being homophobic in his DMs, though many observers felt this was a stretch given the context. The tension continued, with Peep making another Instagram post calling Black Bear a clone. Some fans believe Peep's track Liar was actually a diss track aimed at Black Bear, though this remains unconfirmed. What is confirmed, however, is Black Bear's shocking behavior after Peep's passing. In an interview shortly after Peep died, when asked about the state of hip-hop, Black Bear inexplicably brought up his beef with Peep. "I actually got in a fight with that guy Lil Peep that died yesterday." He claimed their conflict stemmed from actress Bella Thorne, who Black Bear had dated on and off for like 6 years. In perhaps the most disrespectful moment of the interview, Black Bear accused Peep of copying him. "I shaved my head. A week later, he shaved his head. I dyed my hair pink. He dyed his hair pink a week later. I break up with Bella Thorne. He's with Bella Thorne the next week." The interview received so much backlash from Peep's fans that it was eventually taken down. Black Bear seems to have learned his lesson, as he's avoided mentioning Peep since then. Let's shift gears now to perhaps the most heartbreaking conflict in Peep's life, his falling out with Lil Tracy. What makes this particularly sad is that Tracy wasn't just another artist Peep worked with. He was his best friend and closest collaborator. Together, they created nearly 30 songs and significantly influenced the emo rap genre. But as Peep's star began to rise, cracks formed in their relationship. The media increasingly portrayed Peep as the sole innovator of the emo revival, often giving Tracy minimal credit. For example, Pitchfork's review of their collaborative song, White Wine, gave Tracy just one line in the entire article, despite him being an equal contributor. As 2017 progressed, Peep's career accelerated. According to Tracy, Peep's team didn't like him and would actually kick him out of Peep's apartment, sometimes leaving him homeless. The most painful part for Tracy was that Peep never used his voice to defend him. "You're in Germany, you go to space, every show is sold out," Tracy later explained, "and you're performing songs that you have with your friends, but no one is there. We're all back in LA thinking, damn, I wish I was in Germany, counting up quarters." Tracy felt abandoned and resented being treated like a sidekick. "He didn't use his voice," Tracy complained. "They only talk about the emo revival. They're talking about Lil Peep is bringing back blah, 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 and they post a song of me and him, but they only talk about him. Like, bro, you have to say something." Their private messages revealed the deterioration of their friendship. Peep tried to apologize, writing, "You're my favorite human. Every situation I get into, I ask myself, what would Tracy do? It's how I stay true to myself. You're my big brother. I will always love you." Tracy's cold response, "You ain't on shit, little man. I should block you." Despite the tension, both still showed occasional signs of respect. When Tracy's birthday came around, Peep wished him well, but it was clear their relationship had fundamentally changed. Tragically, Tracy would come to regret their estrangement. When he heard of Peep's passing, he initially couldn't believe it was real. They hadn't spoken in a month. Tracy was in the studio when he got the news, and he immediately threw up. Today, he has multiple tattoos honoring Peep and frequently celebrates their music together. Beyond these major conflicts, Peep had several smaller beefs worth mentioning. He once tweeted, "I pooped out Lil Xan," and visibly mouthed the words Lil Xan during an interview about people he had issues with. Though seemingly playful, some speculate Peep resented Xan's success with Betrayed, despite what Peep perceived as less talent. When Xan made his tribute post after Peep's passing, he acknowledged that Peep didn't like him very much. Perhaps the most straightforward case of betrayal involves a SoundCloud rapper named It's Okay to Cry. Early in Peep's career, they were friends, with Cry being a huge supporter. They eventually connected officially, with Peep's friend Young Goth joining Cry's Posey Heartbreak Club. They moved into a house together and recorded 4 songs. Then one day, completely without warning, Peep and Goth moved to Los Angeles without telling Cry. Worse yet, they allegedly took most of his clothes. This isn't rumor, it's well documented. Without his roommates, Cry couldn't afford rent and became homeless for months. He detailed this experience in a now-deleted Twitter thread. Finally, there's the case of Russ, who never directly interacted with Peep, but nevertheless created controversy. Right after Peep's passing, Russ wore a shirt saying, "How many Xanax and Percocet do you have to do before you realize you're a loser?" He also went on a Twitter rant about substance abuse and public glorification of drugs. While his points about drug glorification weren't entirely wrong, the timing just a day after Peep's death from an accidental overdose struck many as incredibly insensitive. This earned Russ intense backlash from Peep's fans and friends, including Fat Nick, Smoke Perp, Lil Pump, and even music critic Anthony Fantano. So what can we learn from all these conflicts in Peep's short but impactful life? Despite the beefs and betrayals, one consistent thread emerges. Lil Peep was someone who tried to please everyone around him, sometimes to his own detriment. With Ski Mask, he could have easily thrown his friends under the bus, but chose to absorb the criticism himself. With Tracy, he was caught between his own success and his friends' feelings of abandonment. The most tragic case might be It's Okay to Cry, who genuinely seemed to be wronged without provocation. This situation reveals that even artists we admire can make serious mistakes in how they treat others. These conflicts also highlight the intense pressures young artists face when thrust into sudden fame. Navigating personal relationships becomes infinitely more complex when careers, money, and public perception are involved. For someone as young as Peep, who achieved so much in such a short time, these pressures must have been overwhelming. We should remember that behind the music, the personas, and the social media posts, these are real people dealing with real emotions. The SoundCloud era created unprecedented opportunities for young artists to find success independently, but it also created a pressure cooker of rivalry, jealousy, and misunderstanding. Lil Peep's legacy extends far beyond these conflicts. His musical innovation, emotional vulnerability, and willingness to challenge genre boundaries continue to influence countless artists today. Yet understanding these personal struggles gives us a more complete picture of who he was. Not just an icon, but a complex young man trying to navigate fame while staying true to himself. As listeners and fans, perhaps we can learn to appreciate the humanity behind the art. These artists aren't just content creators. They're people with flaws, insecurities, and complicated relationships just like the rest of us. The next time you press play on a Lil Peep track, remember that behind those haunting melodies and vulnerable lyrics was someone navigating a web of relationships, some supportive and others destructive. In the end, his music survives as a testament to his ability to transform even the most painful experiences into something beautiful that resonates with millions. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the untold rivalries of Lil Peep's career. If you found this valuable, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into the stories behind your favorite artists. Special thanks to Twisted World for allowing this exploration. Check out their channel for more content on the SoundCloud generation that changed music forever. The truth is, understanding these conflicts doesn't diminish Peep's legacy, it enriches it. It shows us that even in the face of betrayal and misunderstanding, he continued to create groundbreaking music that spoke to a generation. And perhaps that's the most powerful testament to who Gustav R truly was.